Welcome back. What's up, everyone? It's another episode of Ben on Sports. We are covering our Week 9 NFL predictions and our Week 8 review. I hope you all have been enjoying this series. I hope you all enjoy this episode. As always, keep coming back. Like, comment, subscribe, give feedback in the comments. Without further ado, let's get into the Week 8 review. Thursday Night Football. First game of the week, we had the Rams and the Vikings. I thought it was going to be close. The Rams look like they're getting healthier, and it showed. The Rams with a big win against Minnesota. Some controversy with that missed face mask call at the end of the game could have set the Vikings up to potentially tie the game. But at the end of the day, if you're the Vikings, I think you want to win that game and not have it to come down to the last play. Vikings on a 2-game losing streak after starting undefeated. They're still in a good spot. They're not in an awful position. And all of a sudden, the Rams look like they might at least have an outside shot at the playoffs. They definitely have a shot at their division. The NFC West is crazy. I think everybody's within a half a game or a game right now. So definitely keep an eye there. Good performance from the Rams. Completely different offense. It's crazy what happens when you get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back. And I think the Vikings, they'll figure it out. It was an awful performance. I think the Rams are just ready to play. It was a Thursday night game. Flores will have the defense ready, and Sam Darnold, you just want to hope that he keeps playing well. If he play, that's really been the strength of their team, or at least maybe not strength, but it's been the thing that's kept the team going is the surprising resurgence of Darnold. So as long as he continues to have that resurgence, I think they're going to be okay. I was talking earlier this season that he kept proving me wrong. I kept saying the other shoe was going to drop. Maybe that still happens. We'll see. Who did I pick? I did pick the Vikings. So we are off to a bad start. Moving on to the Dolphins and the Cardinals. Dolphins were up double digits multiple times in the first and second half. Dolphins were dominating large stretches of this game. Tua was back. The offense looked great. Couple of snapping miscues. And then everything went south in a hurry. The Miami Dolphins defense that has been so good disappeared. Kyler Murray got whatever he wanted through the air. The offense had some of their worst drives at the worst time, and a team that desperately needed a win, and the Dolphins got upset at home as time expired. Great win for the Cardinals coming across the country. I believe that win actually put them in the first place after some tiebreakers go through in the other results. Dolphins looking really bad, 2-5. I know the Packers made the playoffs last year after starting 2-5, and the AFC has a lot of teams that are down in that area, but they don't have the easiest schedule in the world, and they're going to have to win 7 or 8 games. A team that made the playoffs the last 2 years, you think, with all the talent they should be. And it is looking very grim for a team that thinks they should be a playoff, maybe even Super Bowl contender. I feel bad for all the Dolphins fans out there. Not a good look. And moving into next week might not be a good time for them. Again, Arizona, great win. They're in first place. Kyler Murray and the offense look like they had it going. Who did I pick? I did pick the Dolphins. So I'm off to an 0-2 start after a back-to-back 12-win weeks. Moving on to the Jets and the Patriots, two teams. At least the Patriots are playing to be bad. The Jets are really bad. I was just talking about the Dolphins. I think Jets fans have it worse than the Dolphins fans do. This division outside of the Bills is a mess. Drake May took an unfortunate hit, something that probably should have been penalized and looked at. He was exciting, and he had the Patriots offense running well. And guess what? They still won with Jacoby Brissett in at quarterback. That's a game the Jets cannot afford to lose. Even the Dolphins beat the Patriots with a backup quarterback in New England. Jets can't do the same thing with really not a whole lot of injuries in their quarterback, with their starting Hall of Fame quarterback healthy. Awful look by the Jets. Both of these teams are 2-6 now. Both of these teams probably out of the playoff picture and more worried about the draft pick. Patriots, you plan to be that way. Jets, you didn't. Man, the Jets are not really bad. I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team, but I didn't think they were going to be this bad either. It does not look good for them. I really, really hope this New York bias stops. I really, really hope we stop propping the Jets up every year as an NFL community, because they do not deserve it. They show no signs of it, and it's honestly kind of funny. Who did I pick? I did pick the Jets, even though I was just hard on them. I thought the Jets were going to be able to win this game. I thought they should win this game, and it didn't happen. So after back-to-back 12-win weeks, we are now 0-3. Awful start to the week. I don't think it literally cannot get more. It cannot get worse. Moving on, we have the Bengals and the Eagles. It was kind of close at first, and then the Eagles really, really found their stride. Puts the Bengals at 3-5. Eagles half a game back, staying pace with the Commanders in the NFC East. Eagles looking better and better. 37 points is a lot. I don't think the Bengals are a great defensive team. Still good to have a game where you come out on the road and demolish a supposedly good team by 20 points. I don't know what the Bengals' issue is. I think they just might be cooked. We might just have to stick a fork in them. AFC looks like it's going through a shakeup other than the three teams everybody knew would be good. Bengals fall to 3-5. Again, no, the AFC playoff picture. I mean, they're in it with that record, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like I said, the Eagles, I mean, this might be their best win of the year. The Packers in Brazil is another good win. Eagles, I think, are kind of quietly marching along right now, and I think they're fine with that. You keep winning games, it doesn't matter. Who did I pick? I did pick the Eagles to go into Cincinnati and win that game. Moving on. The Jaguars and the Packers, it was a pretty close game. Jordan Love did get hurt. Packers still found a way to finish the game off. They moved to 6-2, right behind the Lions for first place. Jaguars lose yet another close game to a high caliber opponent. They're just so close. The Jaguars could have such a better season. I think it's funny, the Jaguars and Dolphins played a close game in week 1, and since then their seasons have gone largely the same. They both got blown out by the Bills, and then they've played a lot of close games with a lot of close games. Some bad teams, some good teams, where both teams could easily have a winning record because of the close games they've been in, and both teams are sitting with only 2 wins in this season. And I think that's an interesting parallel for the two AFC Florida teams. Packers, I'm starting to get worried about Jordan Love. He keeps getting banged up and injured, and we're just now kind of in that halfway point of the season, so it's definitely not a trend you want to see continue if you're the Packers. But winning heals all, and that's definitely a trend. I do think they have to tighten up on defense to be an elite team, but the offense is getting it done right now. Who did I pick? I did pick the Packers to win. We're almost back to 500 after a bad start. Detroit Lions and Titans, not a lot of time to spend on this one. Lions, one of the best teams in the NFL. Titans, one of the worst teams. Lions were at home. They won 52-14. Maybe it was a little bit wider than people were expecting, but I think everybody expected this game to be a blowout. I think everybody expected it to get ugly and get ugly fast. That's what happened. Lions were just having fun out there. They scored in a multitude of ways. Titans not having fun, but the Titans looking for that number 1 pick, definitely looking for a top 5 pick. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Lions, like 99% of the world did. Moving on, we have the Buccaneers and Falcons. Close game. Buccaneers put up a good fight without some of their key weapons on offense. Both of the games between these two teams have been wild this year, but the Falcons defense was able to play better than they did the last time these two teams played and get the win in Tampa Bay. This is a huge win for the Falcons. This kind of gives them a stranglehold on the division. The only team that's close to them is the Buccaneers, and they've already beaten them twice, so they're going to have the tiebreaker. They just have to finish with the same record. Falcons kind of marching along, and I think their schedule gets easier from here on out. Remember, they weren't a first-place team last year. I don't even think they were a second-place team last year, and they have gotten much better, and they have much better play at the quarterback position. So Falcons are going to be an interesting team to watch down the stretch here. For the Buccaneers, you're not out of the playoff race. I think for them, the biggest thing is just staying in it until they get healthy. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Falcons to win purely because of the Buccaneers' injuries. Moving on, the Browns and the Ravens. And man, guys, remember last week when I told you the Browns always play their division close, especially the Ravens. They usually beat the Ravens at least once a year. I like Jameis Winston at quarterback, but I still picked the Ravens because I thought they were a better team. That proved to be a mistake. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to implore all of you to stick with your gut when picking games. It was screaming at me to pick the Browns. I talked about how much I like the Browns in this spot, and I still went with the Ravens, and it came back to bite me. I was trying to use my brain over my gut, and it didn't work out. The Browns did end up winning for a lot of the reasons I mentioned. They did take a really bad injury with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Sorry if I butchered the name. That's always been a hard one to pronounce for me. But Nick Chubb is looking good. Jameis Winston, fun experience at quarterback. Funny guy off the field. Fun to watch because you never know if it's going to be an 80-yard touchdown or a pick six. And sometimes I like that when I'm watching a team that I'm not cheering for. Ravens, awful. I mean, defensively, awful game. Multiple drop passes, multiple dropped interceptions. Definitely not Lamar's fault. If you actually watch the game, I got to give him props because there's a lot of criticism around him. I think he could have had 2 or 3 more touchdowns if it weren't for drops. That's still not a game you can afford to lose with the Ravens. Now you go from first to second in the division. I think the Ravens will be just fine, especially with the big lead they have in the wild card. And I still think they're the best team in that division. But definitely have some things to figure out defensively. And now they have another top level wide receiver. Who did I pick? As you guys guessed, I picked the Browns. I now have 4 losses. I'm 3-4 through 7 games. The really reaching double digits seems like it might be difficult this week. Reaching 12 wins is going to be difficult. I believe at a 3-4, I'm going to have to win the next 9 games, pick correctly the next 9 games. So let's see what happens. Texans and Colts. Texans win a close one, 23-20. Both games between these teams this year have been close, but the Texans were able to win this one at home. They now have a stranglehold on their division. They have a multiple game lead, and they have clinched the season tiebreaker over the team that's closest to them. That kind of stuff is huge. The Texans are so funny to me because I think they play mostly everybody close. Not every team they've played close. Like they did blow out the Patriots, but the Colts are a team, in my opinion, they should be able to blow out. They can't do it, but then they also beat the Bills and they play the Packers down to the end. I think there's some holes on this Texans team. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders yet, but they are definitely going to make the playoffs, I think, and they're definitely can hang in there with teams. And if you're the Colts, I think they're in this weird spot where this team, can they make the playoffs? Probably, but can they make a run in the playoffs? Probably not. Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to win games as a veteran, but Anthony Richardson is a guy you drafted for the future. And if you're not going after Super Bowl, is it more important to develop your young guy? Probably. But again, Joe Flacco, I think, gives this team a legitimate shot at the playoffs. He seems like he's much more comfortable. He has that veteran experience. And now he's starting. So it's going to be a very interesting storyline to watch is the Colts starting quarterback this season and going forward. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Texans. Moving on, the Chargers and the Saints. Not a whole lot to say. The Chargers win games the way they always do. Good defense, ran the ball well. Herbert made the plays when he needed to. They're not asking him to do too much most games. And the Saints desperately need Derek Carr to come back. The defense, I think, played well enough to win this game. The offense just couldn't score points. It's really not a lot to say about this game. It was kind of ugly to watch. Sometimes ugly football is fun football, but Chargers won the way they have so many times before. Who did I pick to win this game? I did pick the Chargers. Moving on, we have the Seahawks and Bills. And Seahawks, after starting 3-0, are now back to 500 at 4-4. And they get utterly demolished, 31-10. Might not have even really been that close. The Bills, once again, look like they're steaming along, way out in the division. They look like they are once again one of the best teams in the NFL. It's funny, they have 2 weeks in a row where they'll look really good, and they have 1 week where they don't play as well. Seahawks couldn't score. Their defense, I don't think, is good enough to stop elite offenses, so they're going to have to score a lot. And they were not able to score a lot here, despite all of their weapons. They are having some injury issues. I'm hoping, if you're a Seattle fan, I'm not, but if you're a Seattle fan, I think you're hoping the defense continues to tighten up, and I think you're hoping that the offense I think the Seahawks are going to have to score a lot of points to win this game, or to win against better teams, because right now it seems like these elite teams, the teams that can score a lot on you and get stops, they're not really competitive with. So I think in a way that they're hoping to avoid that as much as they can. Another stellar performance from the Bills, but we're used to that over the last 5 or 6 years. Who did I pick to win? I picked the Bills to win. So add another one, and we're going on a little winning streak here after a rough start. Commanders and Bears. Hail Mary completed in the battle of the 1 and 2 quarterbacks. not very high scoring, definitely a defensive game. Commanders got to stop kicking field goals, or this game would have been put away earlier. Got to score when you get into that scoring area, that opportunity, getting into the red zone. Need to come away with touchdowns. I think it's funny that I believe their only touchdown of the game came on that Hail Mary. And if you're the Bears, you were oh so close to winning that game. Probably would have been their best win of the season. Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels didn't put up a lot of points. Both of them have looked good, have some good, some bad, but they're rookies. So I don't think you can always, most of the time, it's very hard to depend on a rookie to be an elite player every single week. They're going to have ebbs and flows. Good win for the Commanders. They stay in first place. Bears are in last, but they are 4-3. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Commanders, and I squeaked it out. Moving on, we had the Broncos and Panthers. Again, not a lot to say. I'm really kind of where I think a lot of people expected this game to be. Maybe the Panthers scored a little bit more. Going back to Bryce Young, they have another interesting quarterback situation. I think they kind of similar to the Colts, but the team as a whole is not nearly as good. Broncos are quietly now 5-3, firmly in the mix of things for the playoffs. In the playoffs as it stands right now. Unfortunately for them, the division leader defending back-to-back Super Bowl champs are still undefeated. But Broncos quietly doing their thing. No, not a whole lot of people are talking about them. Maybe they don't have too many spectacular wins, but all you can do is play your schedule, and they're playing it well right now. Who did I pick to win? I did pick the Broncos. Moving on, Raiders and Chiefs. This game, another one-possession win for the Chiefs. Raiders, the last couple of years, have played the Chiefs close. I think after last year, some people were expecting Mahomes to come out and have a good game, and he did fine, but he did not have a rock star, I'm the best quarterback in the league game. He hasn't had one all season. Chiefs won a game by one possession that they probably would have liked to win by more, but at least they didn't go full Baltimore and lose to this team. Raiders are so hard to figure out. They play all these good teams close, and then they get beat by bad teams. I don't know what to think of them. They're up and down. Gardner Minshew, I guess that's the Gardner Minshew experience. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe bad. And here they played pretty well. Nobody's been able to beat the Chiefs this year. Nobody was able to beat them down especially in the playoffs last year. That's what happens when you win the Super Bowl. Chiefs' longest winning streak in the NFL and the last undefeated team. Who did I pick? I did pick the Chiefs. I think this is the second easiest game to pick this week. Moving on, Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys and the 49ers, the old school rivalry. I think the score is a little bit closer than this game actually was. The 49ers got up big. They got out to an early lead. They got out to a big lead. And the Cowboys kind of came back at the end. I guess they had a chance to tie. Dak didn't look great, threw some interceptions. It was a much better game from Purdy, rebounding from that tough game against the Chiefs. And the 49ers get the win to get back to 500. Cowboys fall to 3-4. Cowboys have a lot of issues. The defense hasn't been great for the Cowboys. They're giving up a lot of points, a lot of yards. And Dak, maybe 2 or 3 good games, but he's been mostly bad this season. The Cowboys are 3-4, so they're not out of the playoffs. But they need to figure out a couple of key things, or they're going to miss the playoffs this year. Who did I pick? I did pick the 49ers. Last game of the week, not an exciting game. Two, I think, low-scoring, defensive-minded teams. I keep on saying the Steelers are low-scoring, but they keep scoring high 20s, low 30s. Steelers, I'm also haven't been very impressed with their schedule so far. I think their only good win really has been against the Falcons week 1. Nonetheless, the Steelers won by 8 points against a Giants team that I think can't score a whole lot, but play good defense. Giants are struggling this year. And Steelers won prime time. It's really all you can do, right? Mike Tomlin is still an elite head coach. What a shock. And who did I pick to win? I did pick the Steelers. So yes, if you guys were keeping track, I started 3-4, but we went on a 9-game winning streak to close out the week to get to 12-4, which means when we look at our weekly records, we now have 3 12-win weeks in a row, ladies and gentlemen. I told you guys I was going to get hot, and that when I get hot, I'm going to stay hot for a while. We now have gone 12-2, 12-3, 12-4 the last 3 weeks. We have gone from just over 10 games over 500 to a whopping 37. We are at 80-43. This is why you guys need to chime in week to week. I'm giving you guys the most free advice possible, and we're clearly know what we're talking about here. I know that I said the goal was to finish 40 to 50 games above 500. I need everybody listening right now to pause the video, go to the comment section, and give me a new goal. Because if my goal is to finish 50 games over 500, that's only 13 more games above 500, and we're still under halfway through this season. So I'm on pace to way blow past it. Should we shoot for 100? Should we shoot for 80? Everybody go pause the video and let me know what you think in the comment section. Because right now I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm not going to get stumped at all the rest of this year. I feel like I'm seeing it really well. I'm understanding the NFL really well. So everybody needs to give me a new goal, because this whole 40 to 50 game above 500 thing, it's essentially already reached. It would be a disappointment if that's where I finished. All right. I'll get off my high horse now. Let's move on to week number 9. Here's our symbols. We're not going to go over them. I keep saying that every week. You all can read it. Feel free to pause it. Just keep an eye out for these as we go through week 9 predictions. Let's get into it. Thursday Night Football, Jets home against the Texans. The Jets are actually favored in this game for some godforsaken reason. I do think this is a game that's going to be close. I think the Jets are going to be able to hang in there. But the Jets they keep losing games. I don't know if they've beaten a good team yet. The Texans have. The Texans are not going to be scared. I'm a little bit worried about the Jets' pass rush getting to C.J. Stroud, but I think the Jets will be able to pass the ball pretty well. I know that they're without Diggs and Collins, but they still have guys like Tank Dell out there. They still have a good run game, and the Texans' defense, I don't think, gets enough credit for how good they've been. The Jets, they need something to go right. Maybe this win can get them back on track. It might be too far gone. I think it's a crazy line. I think the Texans should be favored. I think it should be close, but the Texans should be favored. I know they're a road team on Thursday Night Football. This could be a similar situation to the Vikings-Rams game. Very similar with two teams in similar situations. Again, I think this is a one-possession game. I can't go against the Texans right now, especially not if it's the Jets. Ravens looking to rebound. They desperately need a rebound against the Broncos. Both of these teams have the same record, both in second place in their division. I think the main difference, I think the Ravens have hope they can win their division. I don't know if the Broncos do. This is going to be the best team the Broncos have played all year. If you're the Ravens, I think you're hoping you can throw enough different looks at the Broncos where Bo Nix doesn't feel comfortable. I think the key thing for the Ravens is going to be to stop the running game. The Broncos are a run-first team. They want to run the ball. And I think the Ravens will be able to prevent them from running it. I think if you look at their run and pass defense, the run defense is where the strength for the Ravens is. And the Broncos do have a good defense, but Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. They're going to be working in Deontay Johnson now. I just think the Ravens offense is too good for a defense to stop, even if it is a good defense. I think the Ravens are the more talented team. They're angry coming off of last week's loss. They're at home. And I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I think there's too much moving in their way here. Maybe the defense gives up a couple of points, but I think the Ravens will be okay. Moving on, Browns and Chargers. Chargers have the better record. They've had the better season. And most people are probably picking the Chargers. I just can't force myself to do it. I think Cleveland's winning this ball game. Maybe I'm buying into Jameis Winston. Maybe I'm buying in too much. But if the Browns can beat the Ravens at home, they can beat the Chargers. The Browns, I still think the defense is going to play pretty well. They're going to play well enough to, I think, to stop the Chargers' run game, make it a little bit difficult on Justin Herbert. And the Chargers also have a good defense, but I think Jameis Winston's never scared anybody. He's going to go out there and let it rip. I think the Browns need that. They're making some unheard of receivers, for lack of a better term, look good in 1 week. Maybe I shouldn't overreact to 1 week, because there is a world where now that they have stuff out there on tape, they don't play nearly as well on offense. But I think Jameis Winston does enough to get the job done. I think if the Browns' offensive line is able to do well in the trenches, I think Nick Chubb could have a big game. I think that the Browns could give the Chargers some of their own medicine with some ground and pound style. And maybe that's where this game goes. Maybe it goes to an ugly, old school football game where you run the ball first and play good defense. But I can't go against the Browns. I went against them last week and I liked them. I kind of like them in this spot. So I'm going to go with the Browns. Bills and Dolphins, two teams on opposite trajectories. Last time these two teams played, the Bills won and kind of killed the Dolphins season. Started the process of it. Tua went out hurt in the third quarter. Dolphins lost that game and went 1-4 without Tua Tagovailoa at starting quarterback. The Bills are 6-2. It's kind of crazy that Dolphins are in second place at 2-5 and the Bills are first at 6-2. That is a 3.5 game difference. Bills win this game. They also have the tiebreaker in. It's a 4.5 game difference. Dolphins desperately need a win. If they lose this game, it's a 3-game losing streak and they're completely out of the playoff picture. They'll have no hope. And that's a team where it could be very bad for the franchise. I think the fans are getting upset. There's a lot of pressure on Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. Things could get ugly in Miami. And they're playing a Buffalo team that they have not beaten Buffalo since 2016. Josh Allen owns the Dolphins. He always plays well. And I think the Bills are going to deliver the death blow to the Dolphin season. Their arch rivals, the bitter rivals that they've owned this decade, really since Josh Allen became the full-time starter. I think it continues here. I think it might be a little bit closer than the first game. I think you would hope so if you're the Dolphins. You're healthier, and your team is a lot more desperate than they were in game 2 of the season. But I think the Bills are going to take joy in nailing the final nail into the coffin on the Dolphin season after nailing the first one, game 2. I think Bills win here, and I think they probably hold the lead the whole way. Panthers and Saints, this could be ugly, especially if Derek Carr didn't play. The first time these two teams played, it was ugly. Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, either way, it's not going to be pretty for the Saints offensively. I think the Panthers are definitely better than the first time they played. I think the offense is better for the Panthers since the first time these two teams played. It sounds like Derek Carr is back. Derek Carr, Saints started off 2-0, and now they are on a 6-game losing streak. Part of that schedule, part of that is because Derek Carr is out. I think Derek Carr comes back this week, and I think the Saints get a boost from that, and I think they're going to win a close one even if Derek Carr does play. I think the Panthers feel like this is a game they can win. In fact, if Derek Carr is not healthy, I think the Panthers do win this game. I think if Derek Carr is healthy, the offense scores enough points, and the Saints defense is going to make it hard on the Panthers. But I'm going to pick the Saints, I think, regardless, even though I definitely get worried about this if Derek Carr is out. Bengals looking to rebound. Another loss would be really bad for them, especially at home to the Raiders. They cannot afford their second home loss to a bad team this season. They're 3-5. They cannot go to 3-6. The Raiders, they were able to beat the Ravens in Baltimore. Raiders have played a lot of good teams close, but they've also had some really bad games. They got blown out by the Panthers, who look like the worst team in the league. So you never know which Raiders team you're going to get. I have to pick the Bengals because they're home at 1 o'clock against a team traveling across the country. They are the better team. Joe Burrow should be able to have a good game, but the Raiders always scare me because Antonio Pierce always seems to have them up for these big games. And he's going to, I would imagine, have them up for this one. And like I said, Gardner Minshew, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And good Gardner Minshew can win the Raiders football games. And Brock Bowers, by the way, needs to be in Rookie of the Year conversations. I know the Raiders suck, but he is so good. He, truthfully, statistically speaking, has been one of the best tight ends in the league. Looks like he can be a number 1 tight end for a very long time. So I just wanted to give him a shout out for a Raiders team that otherwise doesn't have a lot to talk about. Moving on, we have the Commanders and Giants for the second time this year. Daniel Jones' dominance of the Commanders might be over. The Commanders beat them earlier this year in a game where the Commanders didn't score a touchdown and instead kicked all field goals, and the Giants scored all touchdowns and kicked no field goals and still lost the game. It's in New York. I think this game might be really close, and I kind of want to pick the Giants because they've been playing a lot better as of late. But I think since the last time they've played, Washington's gotten a lot better. I don't think, even with the Giants defense, I think Washington scores more points than the Giants are going to be able to score. It looks like Dan Quinn, remember, he's their head coach. He's a defensive guy. Cliff Kingsbury, their OC, is getting a lot of credit, and he should be. He has the offense looking really good. But I think Dan Quinn is figuring out this defense, figuring out how to make this defense work. And I think that's been a large part why the Commanders are having more success. And I think they're going to go to New York and get this win, although it's going to be tight. Falcons and Cowboys. Cowboys, I talked about it earlier, they don't have a lot going right for them. They're still 3-4, so they're not out of it. They desperately need a rebound here. They're struggling, but a win here against a good Atlanta team could help heal the soul a little bit. Cowboys still dealing with lots of injuries all over the field. They need their big-time players to step up and be consistent. Lamb is there, but Dak hasn't been. The Falcons, I still don't think they fit their ceiling. They're kind of good, but they're not as good as I think they can be. I think they're dragging their feet a little bit. I will say the Falcons are at home. This is a top 5 game of the week. There's really not a whole lot of great options, but this is two teams that are supposed to be good. You're definitely going to get some star power. It's going to be in a dome, so you don't have to worry about weather. I think the Falcons get this win. I do think it's close just because the Cowboys are able to throw the ball a little bit, even when Dak does throw some interceptions. But again, I think the Falcons win this game. I think it could be high scoring, and I think it's going to be interesting and would recommend tuning in. Titans and Patriots, 1-6 versus 2-6. And the Patriots, the most interesting storyline for them was Drake May, and now he's probably not going to be playing this week. Why would you rush along your quarterback you just drafted who has a concussion? It's not like you're trying to win this year. Titans look bad. I mean, every once in a while they look good on one drive here or there. They look tough or something. I don't know. Not a good game. I don't have a lot to say. This is two bad teams that both probably want the first pick in equal amount. Although the Patriots just beat the Jets. I guess you can't lose against divisional opponents. You want to beat your division, regardless of if you're tanking or not. It's in Tennessee. Tennessee is definitely going to be circling this game as a chance to win. Tennessee is not going to have a lot of opportunities to win, so I think they definitely are going to have this game circled. Patriots looking to maybe go on a 2-game winning streak. I want to pick Tennessee, but I think I'm just going to pick New England because they've played better the last couple of weeks. They look better, and I think defensively they are the better team. I do think this is going to be a really ugly game, guys. It's my toilet bowl game of the week. If you have to miss a game for some reason, this is the game to miss. And really, nobody should be watching this unless you're a Titans or Patriots fan, or if you're a gambling addict and you, for some reason, bet on this game that really has no consistent stats behind it. But yeah, I think this one's going to be an ugly one to watch, guys. Moving on, we have another top 5 game of the week, 4:00 slate. Cardinals versus Bears. Bears need a rebound, prevent from going back to 500. Cardinals with a great win, and the the roller coaster ride that is the Arizona Cardinals continues. One game they look like a bottom 5 team. One game they look like a top 5 team. They're back and forth, up and down on this roller coaster. I don't know who the real Arizona Cardinals is. They're always capable of scoring points. They're always capable of giving up a lot of points. They're going to be at home. Number 1 pick, good defense for the Bears. I just don't think the Bears are going to be able to score enough, regardless of how good or bad the Cardinals' defense has looked. I think the Cardinals are going to be able to outscore the Bears in this one. This could get high scoring, despite the Bears having a good defense. Kyler Murray definitely had a good rapport with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride last game. We'll see if that continues. I'm going to lean Cardinals here. I'm going to pick the Cardinals, but Bears are good enough to keep this one close. I do think this is going to be a game where Caleb Williams is going to have the ball in his hand late, and he's going to need to come up with a big drive. Moving on, Eagles and Jaguars. One team underperforming, one team doing what they're supposed to do. Eagles need a win. I mean, they're in playoff contention. They're right behind the Commanders. They're really only a bye week behind them. Jaguars, I mean, maybe they're in the AFC playoff hunt. I don't know what the AFC playoff hunt is. They have teams that aren't supposed to be good that are in the playoffs, teams that were supposed to be really good out of the playoffs, but they're all separated. I feel like teams like 6 through 16 are separated by like 3 games. I don't know. So who knows what could happen? There's still half a season to go. Don't think the Jaguars are good enough to go into Philadelphia and get a win. I think they maybe keep it close. I don't think they're going to have as much success running the ball as they maybe want to. I think the Eagles get a lot of stops here, and Jacksonville's defense can get leaky, especially in the secondary. Maybe it's a game Jalen Hurts gets going. We'll see. I think the Eagles win this one, and I don't know how close it's going to be. We have another top 5 game of the week up next with the Packers and the Lions. Winner of this is first place in the division and first place in the conference, I believe. I don't know the Commanders in the tie-breaking because they could get the 7-2. So I don't know the tie-breaking procedures off the top of my head on who would have that. But for all intents and purposes, I'm calling this first place in the division, first place in the conference game. You have the Packers at home against the Lions. I really want to pick the Packers, but Jordan Love scares me. He's still a little bit banged up. He's having problems with injuries this year. And while both offenses can score a lot of points, I trust the Lions defense a heck of a lot more than the Packers defense. I am giving the Packers a boost because it's a home. They're at home against a divisional opponent. But the Lions, even though it's been against bad teams, have looked so good. Their defense, like I said, I trust a heck of a lot more. I think this is a close one. I think this one could be 30, both teams in the 30s, close to 40s. I think this game could turn into a shootout. So I highly recommend everybody turn into this one. This is going to be a really good game. Best game of the week, I think. But I'm leaning Lions just because I trust their defense more than the Packers. This is going to be such a good game. I'm going to give it game of the week. I mean, 6-2 versus 6-1. It's 2 rivals. Green Bay, Wisconsin. Detroit, Michigan. 2 good teams with high hopes. Teams that made the playoffs and won games in the playoffs last year. Game of the week. Absolutely. This one ought to be very fun, guys. But like I said, I think I'm giving a slight edge to the Lions because they have been consistent defensively. Moving on, another divisional battle between teams with playoff hopes. Seahawks went from first to third in 1 week in the division. They're still 4-4. The division leader is 4-4. It all comes down to tiebreakers. But if there's 3 teams at 4-4 in the NFC West and the Rams are 3-4, that means they're very much in the race too. A win here would put them ahead of the Seahawks. And if the Cardinals lose, the Cardinals too. Seahawks need a rebound. They're still kind of reeling. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games. I think this is going to be a fun game. I think both teams are going to have trouble getting stops. I think this is going to be a fireworks game. I don't think Seattle's secondary, or first of all, Seattle has been towards the bottom of the league in rushing yards, and I think their secondary is going to have trouble consistently stopping Kupp and Nacua, especially if they can't stop the run game. Seattle, I mean, the Rams have had a lot of trouble most of the season stopping passing games, stopping offenses. I trust the Rams' rush defense, I think, a little bit more, which statistically may not be true, but just from what I'm seeing. Regardless, again, it's a divisional battle between 2 teams that are neck and neck in the standings. Both of these offenses can score a lot of points. That's where the strength is, and I think for those reasons, this is going to be a fun one to watch. And I think the Rams are actually going to win this one. I think that's where I lean. I might change it to Seattle before I put it out. And if I do, that'll be reflected on the final page. But I think I'm going to stick with the Rams here. I really, really like what the Rams did last week. Sean McVay is a Super Bowl winning head coach. Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. And I don't think that you can hold them down for too long. Moving on to the next game, we have Sunday Night Football. The Vikings trying to get off of a 2-game losing streak at 5-2 against the Indianapolis Colts at 4-4. I think Joe Flacco starting for the Colts gives them a huge boost. I think that it gives them a higher potential to win this game. But I think Brian Flores' defense is going to be ready for the Colts. I think that the Vikings are a more well-rounded team. They have they have a better defense, and I think the offenses, while the Colts offense is better with Joe Flacco and they have lots of weapons, I think the Vikings defense or offense is still slightly better. I think you have to pick the Vikings prime time at home. They desperately need a win. They're on a 2-game losing streak. If they want to have any hope at catching back up in the division, they can't lose this game. think Joe Flacco, the wily veteran, keeps it close. He really has a good connection with Josh Downs for the Colts. I've noticed, and you compare the stats between Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco with Josh Downs, I think that's kind of an interesting thing to look at. But Minnesota Vikings, I think, are going to win this game. It might be Joe Flacco might keep the Colts in it for a little bit. He might keep them in it the whole time. But I think in the end, the Vikings have too much talent on both sides of the ball to lose to the Colts. Last game of the week, another top 5 game, Chiefs versus Bucks. Even with the Bucks injuries, I think this could still be a decent game. If the Bucks were fully healthy, it would definitely be interesting to see them put pressure on Kansas City secondary. Tampa Bay desperately needs the rebound. They don't want to go below 500. They're at 4-4. They've lost 2 games in a row now. Kansas City, last undefeated team remaining. They're at home. They're still waiting for a Patrick Mahomes breakout game. This could be it. Buccaneers have not been good defensively the last couple weeks, and they're definitely leaky through the air. And for those reasons, I mean, Chiefs better defensively, and I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game somewhat handedly. They should at least. I still think this has the potential for fireworks, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Their first loss will not come yet. The 72 Dolphins will not be able to light the cigars and pop open the champagne this week. Here you go. Here is a summary of all of my games and all of my picks. Remember, as I say every week, do not bet with them. I do not bet with them. I just don't want anybody to get upset with me. I don't know if anybody would use my picks. Maybe that's me being arrogant. But again, when you have 3 12-win weeks in a row and 4 on the season, that literally means half the year I'm getting 12-win weeks, which is an incredible record. But anyway, again, here's a summary of my picks. As you can see, I stayed with the Rams over the Seahawks. Just figured I'd add that note because I had mentioned it. But yeah, if you're in a survivor pool, maybe take my picks into account. I do know what I'm talking about. As you can see, also, Steelers and 49ers are in a bye week. So if you didn't see them and you're like, oh, where are they? That's why they're not playing this week. Once again, everybody, thank you for spending and taking time out of your day, taking time out of your week and listening to this. Sorry if it comes out a little bit later on Wednesday. We've had a busy week this week over here at Ben on Sports. I hope you all enjoy. Please like, subscribe, comment. Really helps me as a creator. When you watch other creators, like, comment, and subscribe them, unless they're a direct competitor of me. I don't even know if I have direct competitors. Just a little funny thing to say, but like, comment, and subscribe. That is the biggest way you can help me as a creator if you want to keep seeing more content. Again, as always in the comment section, let me know any suggestions you have. Let me know your own picks. Tell me what your season record is. But don't come in here and lie about it. Like, actually have proof. I don't want to sit here and I'm not going to sit here and debate with somebody on social media if they don't have any proof backing it up. I do check the comments, so do not be afraid. Come follow me over on X. We have a fun time over there. I'll be getting to some Twitter conversations with people. Everybody have a good week. Take care of yourself. Make sure you mark your spot out on the couch. It is getting late in college football. It's the sports eclipse. Well, World Series is over Wednesday night, so maybe it's not a sports eclipse anymore, but a lot of cool sports stuff going on. Find your spot on the couch. Watch a lot of football this weekend. Take care. Peace.